My name's Emma and I've been working as an HLTA in a class of primary age deaf children. Part of my job was to teach maths to 3 6-year-old deaf boys. They all use BSL and I taught in BSL. The problem I encountered was when we had specific vocabulary, for example the names of shapes, and I found that they just could not remember the English words. They could sign them perfectly well, they could describe a shape, but the sign itself had no clues to how it was spelt, and so although they could learn the word by rote, it never stuck. They would have forgotten it within a couple of days. All 3 of them learnt cued speech in their phonics classes, so I decided to bring it into the maths lessons as well. We started off with their own names. I taught them to recognise their own names and each other's names, and it gave them an incentive to look at me, to concentrate on what I was cueing, because otherwise they might miss their turn. And then I also taught them cue script. They were fascinated to see that there was a way of writing down what their hands were doing. This was a totally unambiguous way of writing, and they loved it. They were really excited. They made the connection immediately. So after we'd done that, we'd laid the ground rules, I took each name of each shape and I unpicked it phoneme by phoneme with them. First we wrote it into cue script with their help, then we cued it all together, and then we used the thras charts. So I would go through each phoneme and I would tell them it sounds like, and give them the keyword. They would have to find it on the chart, read the cue script underneath, and show me which cue it needed to be. And then again we would cue it all together. After a week and a half, when I cued the name of any of the shapes, they could tell me exactly which one it was. They could give me the right sign, and they could also use the cues to fingerspell at least the first few letters of the name, which meant that they could identify from a list which word it was, which name it was. They also started making connections. They started realising that rectangle and angle both had this angle at the end, and it was cued the same and it sounded the same. They recognised the ul at the end of the same 2 words. They recognised that the re at the beginning of rectangle was the same as at the beginning of ready, which they'd seen me cue, and suddenly all the connections started being made. And they were so excited, they were literally jumping out of their seats to come and show me what they'd just discovered. So what started as a way of just learning a few words, a few very specialist words, snowballed. They became fascinated with people's names, with finding names that started with the same sound or with the same cue. And they loved cue scripting. They started writing labels for everyone, cue scripting everyone's names. And they could still, after a week off, remember how you cued, or at least the beginning of the cues for all of the names of the shapes.